Hey, my name's Will Erickson from momentumgroup.tech, and I'm going to be talking about how to make a maintainable bubble application. So sometimes I get asked questions, how can I make my app more maintainable? How can you take over my app from my previous developer? Is that possible? Can we reuse what's been done, or do we have to start from scratch? How do you work with multiple devs within an app and stay coordinated? How do you keep your file organized? How do you organize the naming and all that sort of thing? So these are great questions and really important. Often these questions are asked at a point of significant pain. So it might be that someone's gone and they've used an agency and they've built out a project, but they're trying to look for a new developer because they've got some issues and they can't seem to get anyone who's willing to take on that app and pick it up because the way it was implemented before is not that tidy. It might be that they've done it themselves. They've built out their own product. They've been a citizen developer. They've learnt Bubble. They've built out this solution, but they've just realized it's such a tangled web of different strands of logic and ideas and expressions that they can't unwind it enough to keep building upon their solution. They need to start, tear down, reorganize, and structure it properly. So building out a maintainable app is a really key priority if you're going to be using your app in the wild with real users. So here's a couple of principles I like to talk about, and I think these are really important to think about as we approach Bubble in almost every aspect. So first of all, how can you centralize the logic? How can you put your business logic and your applications logic in one place rather than in hundreds of places? And a really tangible example of this would be a style. So you can apply a style to a group or a text element. You can define that style in one place rather than having to define it on every single group or element where you use that style. But there's a number of other ways we can do that. We'll cover those later. Do not repeat yourself. It's sort of the same as the first one, but especially where you have workflows where you've got particular logic, you might have do a search for that has a very specific expression that has all these conditions. You don't want to be repeating that stuff if you can. Try and put that in one place. Otherwise, you risk those things getting out of sync and introducing bugs that are very hard to diagnose and then fix. Another example of a principle is having things handle a single concern. So build out a workflow or an element that looks after one thing rather than trying to do two or three things at the same time. And often we see this in workflows. You might be connecting to an external API and step one fails. How do you get step two and three to play or to roll back? So you split these things out into single concern, and that way, if they fail, then you can handle that, and then you can get the user to keep going with their actions and give them that control. So some of the things that really help when building out a maintainable app is starting with how you design and structure things. We can structure our page elements, our workflows, our database, our styles. We can do that very well, or we can do it very poorly, and those things will have a huge impact on maintainability. Another way we can do this is by using modules within our app, or almost like functions if you've done some programming before. So Bubble provides us with reusable elements. It provides us with custom events in our workflow. And these things can hold logic in one place, in one central place, and other places can refer to it. So start to think like that. You're making modules which can be used in multiple places throughout your app. Another thing is naming conventions. So almost everything in Bubble, elements, workflows, database entities, or data types, the fields of those entities, styles, these need to be named and named in a way where you know what you meant, and you can come back and find it later, and then other people can understand it and find that system logical and well ordered. If you apply proper naming conventions, then your app will be much more maintainable. Oops. Another thing is documentation. We have a standard practice of documentation in our agency, and we cover off all these areas in every project. So we do a high-level solution architecture design. We create a map of a page and how that page structure will work functionally. We organize our sitemap, or like all of our pages, and then what goes on each single page. We organize our styles. We create a database entity relationship diagram, a DRE diagram. We have a table of privacy rules. We'll document our key workflows, and we'll also plan out and capture a place to put our application content, like for example, our notification schedule. How much documentation is too much? There is always a risk you can overdo it with documentation. And what we've found is that we come back and we document the intention of what we are trying to create. So thanks for listening. I hope this has given you some ideas about how to make your bubble app more maintainable. We explore all of this and more in much more detail in Momentum Group Academy. So jump onto momentumgroup.tech/academy and check out our Academy program, and I hope to see you there.